And we are back, and we just finished watching Voyage of the Rock Aliens from 1984, rated PG, with a runtime of 1 hour and 37 minutes. We saw this on Tubi because we were too cheap to actually pay for the rental.
Rightfully so.
And the always lovely Zach is here with us today to talk about this crazy flashback to the 80s. How are you?
I'm well. This is actually on YouTube as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, we should have watched it on YouTube with that
movie.
commercial. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love YouTube.
I bought this on Amazon. Well worth the money.
I love that you support the arts, Zach.
Yeah. I should have gotten the actual, but who's got time for that?
As I was watching this, we'll jump into the review in a second, but as I was watching this, I was like, it's funny that you mentioned DVD. I was like, they should put this on a compilation with Earth Girls Are Easy, and I can't think of a third one. But when I was watching this, I kept thinking about Earth Girls Are Easy. I did not pay to see that movie. I got free tickets through the New York Press, and I remember leaving the theater after and being like, what was that? And I had a similar reaction here. But I kept laughing through most of it and having a good time. I don't feel bad watching this.
All right.
I know you feel differently, but we definitely Science Theater 3000 the shit out of this movie.
It's definitely not a film for fans of things like plot or story.
Yes.
Question for you.
What?
This or Krull? You'd watch Krull again.
Krull, 10 out of 10. Krull. All day Krull.
All right, so let's get into it. I'll start with Zach. Why did you want to watch this film?
I had heard about it on a movie podcast, and it just sounded so ridiculous that I had to go and watch it. And then I just told you about it just because I figured I know you're also someone who enjoys bad movies. I didn't think that we would switch to this to do it, but
oh, I love
a lot
it.
to talk about.
Oh my God, there's so much to unpack here. It's crazy. I was like, this is a movie before you were born. So I'm loving it though. I mean, I was totally nostalgic. I think at one point I turned to you and I was like, I used to dress like that. What the hell were we all thinking?
I know, and you didn't even have access to all the cocaine that those people had.
I don't know. I mean, is it a terrible movie? You know what? A case could be made, but I think just for the nostalgia. And the other thing I want to say is she's not a bad singer.
I mean, wasn't that her actual
Well, I think she wanted
to.
I think she wanted to be an actress, but I think she kind of towed the line. And
she looked. I mean, it was especially in that Jermaine Jackson music video that they had strapped on at the beginning of the movie. She looked like a child.
That was her shtick. That was part of her shtick. I mean, you never saw that Butterfly movie, which was completely inappropriate. I don't even know how we saw it, but she's basically trying to seduce her dad. And she looks like this. She's got that full chubby cheeks.
Yeah,
it's
she's got,
this
fat.
Madonna whore thing going on. It's so weird because it's you look at her and it's but you're a child, but you have the body of a woman. And what is going on here?
I saw one review that for this movie on IMDb that referred to her as sex kitten Pia Zadora, and I was just gross.
But she was, that was definitely her thing. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty sure, I can't remember obviously, but I'm pretty sure she was in Playboy or Hustler. She definitely did the nudie mag. She was big in Europe, I think, because of her music. I think she tried to get a career going here in the 80s, and she was in a couple of things, but then she sort of just petered out and went away. I'm not really sure. I should try to Google her and figure out what she's done in later years. But this is maybe her magnum opus. I don't know. I'm thinking about Butterfly.
This is the pinnacle of her career.
This is the pinnacle of her career. This is amazing, this movie. I don't think it tries to take itself seriously.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, one of my notes that I wrote down when I was watching this was, how does this movie have 3 writers?
That's a good question.
Well, I looked into it a little bit, and according to IMDb trivia, the first writer, the original draft was not a musical.
Ah.
It was basically his idea was it's supposed to be like you're flipping through the TV channels like in the early 80s on a Saturday night, and one channel's got the like 50s beach party movie on, another one showing like the alien invasion movie, and then another one is doing I forget what the third thing was, but so like when you look at it through that, like it's like, oh, I can see like where those connective tissues are coming from.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I guess the third one would be like a slasher film.
Yeah,
with the lunatics who just appear.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
the Hills Have Eyes guy.
You brought up when we were watching Krull how that movie is like different things all scrunched up together. So the same could be said for this. So I guess that was a thing in the 80s.
Genre mashups.
Well, it's funny because when we were watching it, like you even said, you were like, what time frame is this? Is this supposed to be the 80s or is this the 50s? Like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Some people were dressed in 80s stuff and other people were like, they were like
greasers from the 50s.
Riding in hot rods and stuff.
Well, this actually is something that the movie does that I thought thematically works very well, because in the early 80s, there was that whole 50s nostalgia revival, Brian Seltzer,
Stray Cats, yeah.
And then there also was New Wave was coming up at the time. So like very much like one of the themes of this movie, at least musically, is 50s revival versus New Wave.
Right. And that
actually is embodied by the love triangle.
Sure. And then like that other band that was, I guess, the Aliens, they were like
Devo.
They were like, bargain basement Devo.
Well, both bands were real bands, and they hired actors to play the lead of bands. So I think the rockabilly band was Jimmy and the Mustangs.
Right.
And then the other band called Rhema, which is why like the computer says like Rhema scan or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were, and actually they got back together, two of them, in 2017, and actually like released an EP, Rhema.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
How fun! I should have deep dived, because at one point I was like, one of the Jimmy and the Mustangs. I was like, is that Charlie Sexton? And you were looking at me like, who?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Don't ask me who.
I had the biggest crush on him
from the 80s. So.
But oh my god. So let's get into it. So this is the story of Dee Dee, the lovely Pia Zadora, and Frankie, hot young Craig Schaefer from 80s with those crazy cheekbones and his inability to wear a t-shirt, apparently.
Sleeves.
A t-shirt too. I mean, he's wearing, what is he wearing? Like a leather thing? And
that's right. He was a leather jacket and abs.
And abs. That's all he is. Yeah.
Absolutely allergic to sleeves.
And then the aliens come, led by Absid, who's played by Tom Nolan, and they're
apparently they're searching the universe for rock and roll, a plot that is pretty much abandoned
soon after. Well, I mean, God.
I don't know if that's so much the plot as it is just like the setup to get the lack of plot in motion.
There you go.
There you go. That's very generous of you, Zach. Let's really review this film, because I think, okay, as a snapshot of the times, right? This is like a really interesting film because you kind of have seasoned actors in this. You have somebody like Ruth Gordon, you have Michael Berryman, who's been in stuff, and they're doing this crazy campy thing that obviously was written by a bag of cocaine. And
it's a blizzard.
But I never got the impression that anybody was phoning it in. Everyone seemed earnest. I mean, if you had to tell me, okay, here's a good example. If somebody had to tell me, would I need to watch this or Xanadu? Because it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, yes and no, but I feel like this one's more fun and silly. Like Xanadu, it's like...
I don't remember Xanadu.
I made you watch it. And you were just like,
I think I kept leaving. Was like Gene Kelly like God in that or something?
No, he was, what's his name's friend from the Warriors.
I thought they were like in heaven or something.
No.
I really did not watch that movie.
No.
I think you have blocked out that memory.
Yeah.
Suppressed it.
I know.
I know.
A psychologist is going to dig that out of me.
I remember watching that and loving the shit out of it, but then when you bought me the DVD for like Mother's Day or my birthday or something, and I watched it and I was like, wow, this is terrible. And I forced you to watch it and I felt bad after.
There was roller skating in it, wasn't there?
Yes.
Okay.
What's his name? Opened up a roller rink because that was like a big business back in the late 70s, early 80s, I think.
Okay. Well, back to
Voyage of the Rock Aliens. But I feel like this movie, it's 1984. I mean, obviously, if you're asking me, am I going to watch Terminator or this? Terminator's going to win. But there's something just carefree and fun and just joyous about this film. I mean, I don't think you go into Voyage of the Rock Aliens with any kind of expectations, with any kind of looking for plot or nuance. I think it's just one of those things where you just sit in front of it and you turn your brain off and it's like, okay, all right, this happened for an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah, if you like silly songs and just...
I thought the music in it was decent. Like, I'm trying to think of all the other stuff that I watched in the 80s. Like,
wasn't one of the songs just like
I felt like it was a ripoff of Hammer to Fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It had the same beat.
I do want to talk about that dance sequence.
Let's do it.
Why did it start with the underwear around the ankles?
That's a good question.
Whose idea was that?
I don't know. I mean, okay, we can let's think about that. I mean, is it supposed to be like naughty sexy? I mean, is it supposed to be like, oh, we're in the girls' bathroom and we're peeping Tom? I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Maybe something will stick.
More sexy than excretion.
Yeah. You know what? Listen, there's a kink for everybody.
Yeah,
so
true.
Don't you make fun.
That's true.
Don't you make fun. No judgment here.
And like, I don't know if they were implying that the last one didn't. It was
she had no underwear.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, some people used to go commando. I mean, I guess people still go commando.
Sure people, yeah.
Yeah. But that, and then like the bathroom stalls open and it's shirtless Craig Schaefer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone. Of course.
One. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of the choices made here were obviously to draw in more audience. So you have the men and you have the women, and there's not really cursing in it. There's not really there's not really sexual innuendo or anything. So I think you could even get like a teenage crowd to go see something like this.
There was exposed boobs in that one scene.
In that one scene, but that was like the 80s. That always happened.
That was a prerequisite to be an 80s movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was quick. I mean, the girl in the front was wearing her like 90, but the one in the back was like topless. But yeah, it was quick. So it wasn't like an egregious amount of boobage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty tame compared to like 80s teen romps.
Oh my God, like Porky's or what's another one?
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds, yeah.
Well, so on this topic and sort of going back to what we were saying with the bathroom dance sequences, like what I felt like in this movie worked for me was like there were some comedic moments that landed pretty well. And like at the end of that dance sequence, her friend goes, a simple yes or no would have sufficed. But like what was funny to me on watching it again is like you just participated in that whole dance sequence. Like it'd be one thing if she was just standing there watching the whole dance sequence and then she said that, but it's like you joined in. I don't know.
Well, that's like the I feel like the silliness here really, like you said, a lot of some of the jokes really landed. Some of it felt dated, obviously, but for the most part, it's just I don't think. I mean, this isn't supposed to be like the Citizen Kane of movies. This is just turn your brain off, come to the theater, and just watch this nonsense.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So I think for that, I enjoyed it a lot. I think for the nostalgia, I really, really enjoyed it. I agree with you. I don't understand the opening video with Pia and Jermaine, and then at the end they sing that song, and obviously Craig Schaefer is lip syncing it, which just is like crazy, right? Because it's like, but we've already seen her perform this song with the actual other person, but whatever.
Well, one of the things I didn't get, like in the beginning, the initial plot, we're searching for rock and roll. They like scan those 3 planets, and there's like the planet with the puppets, and then the Maylocks or whatever. Yeah. And the third one is the Jermaine Jackson planet, and then they say no to all 3 of them, even though the third one had like the big music video.
Number, yeah,
Like, why did
Although,
they reject The Last Planet?
But I guess because that planet wasn't rock and roll, because that's not really a rock and roll song.
But neither were they. They were like
new
wave,
pop, a new wave, yeah.
So that music video was actually added on after some bad test screenings, and because it was like, I think the song was already like kind of a minor hit.
Ah.
But I had a question. I don't know if this was just my copy. I thought maybe I had some lag the first time I watched it, but every time I have gone back and looked at it again, what was up with the frame rate in that music video?
It was more sped up, right?
I don't know. It was like, to me, it just felt like it wasn't like the proper, the 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it was recorded on like a camcorder and like when it got transferred.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was a different. It definitely felt like it was a different speed or a different type of stock, maybe. I don't know, but it definitely looked different than the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been filmed either way later or way over, because even her face looked different.
Kind of.
She had way more like a chubby cheeks in that one.
Well, she was pregnant by that point.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like in the early '80s, I remember her being sort of like that sex pot, like child woman thing, which is kind of a strange.
There was a lot of strange people who had a lot of money, and they were the ones making films like these.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point she's already married to like that. Like she went through a lot of rich husbands. I think she like married 2 or 3 times. And I think when she did this particular film, or when she was doing these films, because I think also like Butterfly came out either like a year or 2 before this, maybe.
Didn't you say someone bought her a Golden Globe or something?
Yeah, her husband. Yeah, like they changed. Like if I remember the scandal right, like they changed the category because I think originally it was like best newcomer. And that particular year, it was like best newcomer female, best newcomer male. And like she won. It wasn't for this. I think it was for Butterfly. And I think it was like this. She became like this big joke because it was like, oh, well, obviously she didn't win it on merit. She won it because of who her husband is and like the influence that he had. So I forgot what that guy was. I think he was like some hotel guy. I don't remember, but I remember he was like Daddy Warbucks rich, and I think he definitely funded like a lot of her projects because I guess he wanted to push her out there. I don't think she's married to that guy anymore, but
I think the appeal of Pia is that she seems to sit in the middle of like the Venn diagram. Like she's obviously an adult, but she looks like pretty young, fairly childlike, innocent. I would have a hard time like guessing like ethnically like what the makeup is. She looks vaguely everything.
Yeah. But I think that worked in her favor. I mean, I remember her being like a big thing for a while in the 80s. You probably weren't paying attention, but
the only thing I remember about Pia Zadora is when I was a little boy, I went to the Halloween parade in the village.
And she was there?
My parents. No.
Oh.
There was some guy where he was dressed up as a newspaper, and the headline of the newspaper was Pia Zadora farts, thousands flee. That's the only thing I know about Pia Zadora. And I remember that headline because like we all laughed at it.
Yeah.
And that's all I know about Pia Zadora. This is the first thing I've ever seen with Pia Zadora.
Really? Oh my God.
I knew nothing of her until coming across this movie.
Oh, wow. Well, she was a minor or big celebrity. I mean, I'm trying to think like who we could compare her to nowadays.
She would be like an influencer.
Probably. Yeah.
I could
totally.
totally see that.
Totally. Yeah.
So, and one thing I wanted to say about Craig Schaefer that played Frankie, the whole time I was watching this, I was like, who does he look like? And then it hit me. He looks very close to Evan Peters.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Evan Peters is a little smaller frame.
Right. They sort of have the same face.
Yeah. Also, David Boreanaz. They got that
David
Cro-Magnon brow.
Yeah, I can see David Boreanaz too.
And then I looked it up to see if Craig Schaefer had kept working, and it turns out like his most recent credit is in the last season of American Horror Story that just aired as Nixon.
Oh, how funny. I don't see him as Nixon, but we'll have to check that out.
He's older
I just
now.
thought that was.
What
He's got the
happened to that
cheekbones
show?
anymore.
Not to get off on a tangent, but what happened to that show?
That show always would start off decent, but it always felt like they were writing it as they were producing it, and
The ends
by
always
like the
didn't
fourth
stick.
episode, they were like, we got to start killing stuff, so just kill everybody and
Yeah, it always
flat out the
started
window.
strong, and then I don't know what happened.
I
Yeah,
don't know. There's a few later seasons that I think are not every episode's a banger, but overall pretty good.
yeah. We might have to do a TV rewatch. We definitely got to do Lost with Zach, but maybe we'll do early.
But yeah, I just thought it was weird that I was like, oh, he looks like Evan Peters, and then I don't think Evan Peters was actually in the most recent season, but he was in a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was decent in this. I mean, he just has to be brooding kind of asshole, right? Which is
I don't
what
know.
Craig Schaefer was in the 80s.
I thought his comedic moments landed the best for me, like when he says, "Why would I be jealous of someone who's about to be recently deceased?" Like his delivery of that line was just good,
Yeah.
and
he probably didn't mean it that way either.
and I don't know, but like I think he knew what he was doing, because then later at the dance scene when he sees the aliens walk in and he goes, "Oh yeah, they can't get in here," and then he slaps all 5 of the guys and points all
Yeah.
at once.
it's like a Three Stooges.
that was pretty good physical comedy. Like
Yeah.
I think when he leaned into the comedic of it, like the performance was good. It just so he had to do a super serious song with a panther.
Very out of shape.
Very
Panther,
out
by
of
the way.
shape panther. That was our big notes when we were watching it. We are like, I don't think that thing could
That thing
like
looked like it was on its last
legs. Yeah, that's so sad.
sagging belly.
Or possibly super sedated, which you know
Yeah.
Hollywood at the time.
True. This way nobody gets their face clawed off. I feel like the film hits a sweet spot because it's like it's not too short and it's not too long. It's super silly. The costuming I really, really liked. I thought the songs are really good, and I think it like helped showcase her abilities. I mean, she's not Aretha Franklin, but she had a good poppy kind of voice, and it definitely came through. And
What were your favorite songs or favorite song?
I think I actually had a 45 LP of that Jermaine Jackson song and her. So I'm kind of embarrassed by it because I'm like listening to it now and I was like, oh my God, what were we thinking? This is like nothing but cheese. It's terrible. I like the song in the bathroom that I said that reminded me of that Queen song because it has the same beat, Hammer to Fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what else? Not Justine, but the song that Jimmy and the Mustangs played at the Cotillion, I liked.
Oh, Let's Dance Tonight?
Yeah.
Because both bands played it.
Yeah, but I liked their version better.
Well, I have good news for you. There is a cover of that song by somebody you probably won't guess.
Oh my gosh.
Another 80s, I would say celebrity that dabbled in music and acting.
Another 80s David Hasselhoff?
Yes. There is a David Hasselhoff cover of Let's Dance Tonight, which also on the version I have, the full title is Voyage of the Rock Aliens, Let's Dance Tonight. Like, that's what comes up on the title card.
Oh my God. You have to buy that for me.
Yeah, we'll see.
I actually listened to it, and I think it's not a bad version of that song.
I mean, there's a reason why he was big in Germany. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, King of Germany.
And you loved Baywatch. Don't play yourself.
I saw that one episode with the little people. That was it.
You needed to see the one where he's performing surgery.
And Baywatch Nights. I
Baywatch
think I
Nights
watched
was
an
a good
episode of
show.
Baywatch Nights where he fights monsters.
God, what were we all thinking?
So, but like, that's what I kind of want to like back to the movie. Like, I love that this movie, like, it swings and it swings hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's a swing and a miss, but like, I feel like these are the movies that we need to be rebooting. We don't need to be rebooting Ghostbusters because
Point Break,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I'm so mad about
like
that.
we need to be remaking these movies where there's elements in here that like there's a good movie in here. Like,
Yeah.
It just got kind of sloppy. Like, and I could tell on the rewatch that that song that Dee Dee and Absid have on the spaceship. Like it's supposed to be his dream sequence in the movie, but then I was like, oh no, they just took that from the end of the movie and put it there because she's in the exact same outfit she's in when she goes to the space station later.
Yeah.
So it's like if it was his fantasy, like that would be there'd be a costume difference. So we could differentiate. And it was just like, no, they just edited the end of the movie like sort of into the middle.
It all works. I mean, like I said, this was works. Yeah. I don't know. I you know what? I was completely overjoyed at the end of this movie. I know that you weren't a big fan of this watch experience, and I totally get it. But I think for what it is, I think it does what it does, and it does it well. I think you're not supposed to have any expectations here. I think you're just supposed to go with the flow. I think this movie was probably more as a vehicle to kind of showcase her as, and I feel like she didn't do a bad job. I mean, she's just as good as any kind of 80s actress at the time. She did the comedy. She did the more serious moments. She's definitely the lead. She's pretty. She's a decent singer. So I think that this project was probably more of a vehicle to get her name out, to maybe get her to do more stuff, because now it's 84. We're moving, things are moving. I think by 84, what are the big genres? Like horror and action, right? In the 80s. I mean, you have your prestige films, right? But for the most part, your bread and butter, I think, in the 80s, in this time frame, is probably action and horror.
Yeah.
Because this is what the beginning of Arnold Schwarzenegger's just dominion. Stallone, yeah. I mean, all those guys, but still, I mean, I feel like Schwarzenegger
was the king.
He was like the king. It was like an event.
When
yeah.
this movie came out.
So, and again, horror movies are cheap enough to make, so you can just make them ad nauseum, right? I mean, how many Nightmare on Elm Street movies were there by the end of the 90s? Like 6?
7.
Yeah. So, and then again, you have Schwarzenegger and all those guys dominating with like the action stuff. And then that guy moves into like comedy, like he did Twins and whatever. But anyway, I think this movie was basically a vehicle to kind of get her out, to showcase her in a way that wasn't just like sex pot. Cause she's not losing her top in this thing. And she, for the most part, I think she does a decent job.
Yeah, it's silly. It's a silly. To me, it felt like what Zach was saying. You could definitely see that its roots as a series of vignettes, as opposed to
like one cohesive
something that was like cohesive. I think like you said, that probably came in later with the other the team of writers getting together and like fusing this thing together.
The other two writers that added the musical elements, and I think it was supposed to be loosely connected in the original draft, but like I think there was more of probably like the sheriff stuff, because like I had to go back and watch the end of this movie again, because even though I had watched it twice this week, I was like, what happened to the sheriff like after they mow down those two dudes on the steamroller? I was like, did they just do that for that gag?
I guess. And yeah, because you even turned to me and like, what was the point of that? Why do they have those two guys there just to murder them?
Just two guys carrying
and then at the end, she's just having a frolicking day at the beach.
Yeah, she's wind sailing.
Yes. I was like,
goodness.
how did I forget that was how the end of her character?
I mean, again, no judgment, but how the hell did they get somebody like Ruth Gordon on this thing?
She probably was just.
She probably needed an addition.
I need to work.
Yeah.
Don't they have to work a certain number of things in order to keep their insurance if you're in the Screen Actors Guild or something like that?
Maybe that makes sense.
This is going to pay for my insurance.
That's I mean, if you're putting it that way, and she's probably getting on in years. I mean,
Plus, I mean, it's not like she had to do any heavy lifting in this movie.
No,
it was like she answered a phone. She.
Oh my God!
The way
around. She delivers that phone call. Is this the widow of?
Yeah. So yeah, she did her part. She did a good job.
I think that if this movie had been even just slightly less music and slightly more comedy, it would have worked much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it like going into, I would say, late 80s into like 90s, that's where comedy kind of comes back, right? And you see like a lot of movies, whether they're specifically towards a more adult audience or a more teenage audience, because these are the people that are filling the seats, right? Teenagers with disposable income, you got to target them. So what do? You do comedies, you do horror movies, because that's what kids like to watch.
When did this come out in relation to Grease?
The second one, because the first one came out in the 90s. You know, I was thinking about Grease too when I was watching this.
Grease came out in the 90s?
I mean, the first one came out in the 70s. The second one came out in the 80s, but I can't remember when, but I will tell you.
Because this felt like they were...
This also felt like... See, I feel like this movie...
And like, especially in the end with Craig Schaefer's turn, where he goes from rebel bad boy to I'm going to be nice.
1982. So the Grease 2 came out before that. So that's another movie that... You know what? That should be on the 3-pack DVD set. Girls Are Easy, or Grease 2, and
Grease 2. Yeah.
Voyage of the Rock Aliens. Because there's singing, right? In Earth Girls Are Easy? Or am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, one of the Wayans.
Mm-hmm. It's been years since I've seen it.
I think I saw it in the theater, and that was it.
I don't think there was singing. I don't recall that being booked as a musical.
Because what's her name is in it? Is Annie Golden in it, or what's her name? Oh, God. The one who did that movie with Malkovich. Oh, God. And she was like in a punk band. What's her name?
I have no idea.
God damn it. That was also another crazy movie. Making Mr. Right? Was that what it was called?
No idea.
But I was just thinking about, like, as you were saying earlier, that like this movie essentially has the bulk of its cast are musicians.
Yeah.
And it is a project that, like, normally when you're making like a project that is based around a musician, like, you choose one. But this chose 3 musical artists. It did the same thing it did in its thematic. It's just like it just chose everything.
Yeah, sure. It's like let's just throw everything and see what sticks. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I mean, as hodgepodgey as this film was, I felt like it worked. And I felt like it was part of, like, I'm trying to think of, like, other movie, like, music movies from the 80s. Like, I loved Absolute Beginners. Like, that's obviously a better film than this. But you have stuff like that. Grease 2, definitely. I think that may have, like...
Was there songs in Grease too?
Yeah, there was singing in that. Even Michelle Pfeiffer sings in that.
Oh,
I mean, it would have been weird for Grease 2 to not be a musical.
Right, especially since the first one was. Yeah, they didn't really stray far.
I blanked out Grease.
Oh my God, I
was forced
loved
to see that in the theater and as a child.
I loved both of them. I mean, obviously, the first Grease is a superior movie, but the second one, if it's on, I'm watching it.
What a great choice that would be to make a movie a sequel to a movie that was a musical, and then just not make the sequel a musical, and just like you could always like every time you would like start a song, you would just stop and go to the next scene.
Just to mess with people, right? And then you'd have all the nostalgia people like, what the fuck? This is what I wanted.
Just deliberately trolling your audience.
Yeah. Sure, why not? I was so in love with Maxwell Caulfield. Oh my God. He was another one. I felt like he should have had a bigger career too. I don't know what happened to him.
He wasn't the guy who like shot himself in the head with a blank pistol.
No, that was something Eric Huxham, right? He was in that Voyager show with Suleiman Fry's brother. Oh,
on a related note for this movie, one of the things that was also in the trivia section was when the guy, the Hills Have Eyes guys, used the chainsaw to cut out the fence.
Uh-huh.
Before they shot that scene, he was like this is wrong, like, because normally when you do it on a film set, you reverse it so it doesn't, so you won't actually chainsaw somebody, and they just had a chainsaw, and because he was, the Hills Have Eye guys, he knew how it was supposed to be set up.
Yeah.
So he was just he had to say something before they shot the scene, so no one got chainsawed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because that.
Could you imagine dying for this movie? how terrible would it be for like at the end of this movie and it was like in memory.
Oh God. Oh my God. I'm glad he was there because somebody else would have just been like, okay. And then just that guy would have just been sawed in half.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Any other notes? Okay, since you probably had the least positive experience here, what would have made this movie better for you? Maybe like what Zach said, less music, more comedy?
That could have helped. I don't know. I don't think anything really could have helped this movie. It's like, I don't think they were really trying to go for story or good characters or anything like that. It was really just an excuse. The quote unquote plot was just there to get between musical numbers. Mm-hmm. And they could have done a little of both. They could have worked a bit more to make it a bit more cohesive and make the characters a bit more, I guess, likable. Like I didn't like Pia Zadora's character at all.
I liked her.
She was this fickle glory hound who was just like, wait a minute, I want to talk about like press tours and singing in bands and stuff. Yeah. And I guess I love you, or
whatever she said. Yeah.
And why did he even care? After he gets, oh yeah, I guess I love you, and he's like, whoo. And then he tells her how, oh yeah, we're going to rip all your emotions out through a surgery.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden she backs out.
And then she's just like, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm going to go back to my boyfriend who was, apparently not really a nice guy. Who was just like some violent psychopath who changed his colors as soon as like, oh, she left me for alien dude. Yeah. Now, no more violence. He tells his gang.
His gang. I've seen the errors of my ways.
I've seen the errors of my ways.
When you're getting it good, what are you gonna do? You fall in line.
I don't know.
I also wanted to talk about the amount of sign-based gags in this movie. Did you guys notice that?
Oh, local teenage hangout.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was all over the place. My favorite one, I think, was in the and also in the restaurant, and it was written on the wall in Sharpie, and it was like, please don't write on the walls, management.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. There's when there's the establishing shot of the town of Speelburgh, it has like population uncontrollable. And then when the aforementioned chainsaw fence scene, when they do a shot of the like grounds of the mental institution, one's like paranoia, paramedics,
Yeah. I mean, I think I seriously think this was all tongue in cheek. It was supposed to be a comedy for sure. But again, with the music to highlight her, I guess, skill set. I think.
Well, this is also right about the time that like MTV has just like exploded.
Right, yeah. right. So
I can understand the producers going, well, the kids like music video, let's give them a whole movie of them.
Right. And then plus you had precedents, right? You had movies that came out before, like Xanadu, like Grease 2, and these they were successful.
Was Xanadu successful?
I think so. I mean, they're still talking about it like now. I mean, there's a documentary about the making of. So obviously it falls. I mean, it didn't make like Star Wars money, but I mean, none of these movies made Star Wars money, but
like this is a movie that I think works better now than it would have worked at the time.
At the time, yes, I agree. I think just for the camp factor and stuff, and just I think it's so over the top that people now would be like, oh my God, like
like as you said earlier, like this came out before I was born, and I'm at this point going, how have I lived my entire life and no one has ever told me about this movie?
Because I think much like Ray's experience with the other movie, they just blocked it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is not cinema. This is just fun popcorn Saturday or weekend afternoon delight. Yeah, I mean, I don't think people that go see Merchant Ivory movies are going to be clamoring to see this. But I loved it. I thought it worked. I mean, even now, I was like, I haven't seen this since the theater, believe it or not. Like, I saw this in the Lowe's in Bay Ridge.
I don't even remember that. Was this thing like advertised? Like,
it was. I'm telling you, she was a big deal in the early 80s. She was a big deal.
All right, I'll go with what you
So wait, you had seen this before?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it like since then because I was like, that was such a crazy movie. But I remember seeing it. I had to have been, okay, so 84. I'm like about 12 years old, 7th grade. Is that the same year what's his name? Bruce Leroy movie, The Last Dragon came out?
Last Dragon? I don't know.
Because that's totally in my wheelhouse. So this
That also
movie,
had
I
singing in it,
remember.
right?
That also had
Singing.
I mean, yeah, because what's her name's in it? Vanity.
Vanity, yeah.
Right. And they had the DeBarge song, which was like a monster hit, which I had that 45 too. But that's a good song. Like, I don't mind.
Seventh grade is also that age where you're going to the movies to see whatever's out because you're old enough to go to do things
by yourself,
but not old enough to go actually do anything. So you just go to every movie that you can get into. Even if it's like, I saw, what was the one where it was like Serving Sarah in theaters, where he's like trying to serve divorce papers or whatever.
Yeah.
Just some terrible movies that we knew were going to be terrible, but you're in 7th grade.
Yeah, so everything's fun. Theater. Yeah.
But I could see a lot of scenarios wherein this movie would be great to put on. You could put it on at the background of like a party or a bar, and then every time you look up, something else insane is going on.
Yeah.
You don't really necessarily need the music, but you could have the music if it's not. You could also have a bad movie night. And honestly, I liked this better the second time through because I knew I had gone through it, and I had that extra lens of being like, oh, if I watch it like the way the writer was framing it as if you're channel scanning, and all of these, everything you're channel scanning through is merging together. Like, I enjoyed it more on my second watch. I would skip that the Jermaine Jackson video though. The second time around.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, this is like total nostalgia. This is completely in my wheelhouse. I definitely saw this in the theater. Like, I remember like all those stupid movies. Like I told you, like I saw Valley Girl in the theater. I think I made you watch.
You said you saw Krull in the theater.
I saw Krull in the theater.
Valley Girl is fun though.
Yeah.
Valley Girl is kind of like this movie as well.
Yeah. Like this was like definitely in my wheelhouse. Like light, fun, cool fashions, and pretty girls with cool hairdos so that you could do them too. Like everything was about mimicking what you're watching, especially as like getting into, I guess, being a teenager. You're kind of stuck in those. I always use that example. You're stuck in like that weird gray area because you're not a child, you're not a woman, but you kind of want to be immersed in this, and you go to the theater. I mean, I would go to the movies for storytelling. That was something my family and I always did. But I think as you got older and you were given, I guess, more freedoms, I would go on my own and see stuff that I wanted to see. So I was totally watching movies like this. Like I said, Grease 2. Yeah. Valley Girl, Absolute Beginners, I loved. I mean, even Earth Girls Are Easy, which was terrible, but I remember like I got free tickets. I went. I thought it was awful, but I'm like, I went with my friend and we had a freaking great time. It was like the time that we saw, what was that movie that we completely talked through? The one with Freddie Prinze and Scooby.
Oh, Wing Commander.
Wing Commander. Saffron Burrows was in that, right?
I never saw Wing Commander. You saw that with somebody else.
I thought we saw that.
No.
Is that before I started dating you?
That was before you started dating me, yeah. You've told me tales of going to see Wing Commander. I've never actually seen Wing Commander.
It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. But it's fun if you're there with your peeps and just like Mystery Science 3000.
I mean, it's another in a long line of just really bad video game attempts and adaptations.
Yeah.
But we saw one that was good recently. Oh, Uncharted.
Uncharted was okay. It had potential.
I thought it was good compared to other video game movies.
They needed to work on the chemistry between the two main characters.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I thought it was fine.
It did feel like weird casting because in the games, Nathan is supposed to be like late 20s, early 30s, and Sully, Mark Wahlberg's character, is supposed to be like late 50s.
Ah, I did not know that.
They aged both characters down, and I haven't seen the movie, but I would like to see it.
It's not bad. It's not
I
bad.
assume it'll be a mediocre adaptation, but like a decent movie.
I feel like in the long list of video game adaptations, that's pretty decent.
It was okay. Like I said, you could see potential of, but you need to get that buddy
Chemistry.
going.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you.
I just felt like there was a bit off with that.
Well, it was weird because, okay, so the movie was mostly Tom Holland, though.
Yeah.
And, like, Mark Wahlberg just was, like, sort of like a set piece that would come in and out. Like, he would say lines. And, like you mentioned, even when we did the review for that movie, it was like Tom was doing all the heavy lifting, right? And, I mean, there's one scene.
Mark comes in to punch somebody, and then
like, I'm going to fly this plane and off screen.
I'll fly the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't like he was a big integral part of the story. It was definitely Tom Holland's film.
Oh, he was an integral part of the story.
Guess.
We're not reviewing
Okay.
Uncharted.
Okay, sorry.
We're going off on a...
We are famous for going off on tangents, though.
Yeah.
So scale of 1 to 10. What are you going to say?
Oh, God. I'd give this like a 3.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I have no problem with fun movies where you see like the goal is, okay, we're trying to accomplish something here, like little music videos separated by stuff. And you could say, oh, well, that it's just a comedy. It's just a comedy. But you could still work a story in there that glues it all together. That's a little bit better. And I understand where it's from, the time that it's from. I'm sure the huge amount of drugs were involved in the writing and creative process, and the fact that they were targeting an audience that is not very discerning. They're not young kids who went to go see this film, don't give a crap about the plot and the story.
Right.
They just want to see songs and young people and, boobs and Craig Schaefer's cheekbones and stuff like that. But looking at it now, I would like a little story. And I don't think just because something is a comedy, you don't have to try. I think that's the problem with a lot of like older like genre type movies, is that when they were making them, they were like, we don't really got to give a crap about that sort of thing. But the ones that did are the ones that held up and the ones that lasted. Right. And it doesn't have to be this intricate maze of plot. You don't have to write The Prestige or anything like that.
So good.
It could just A to B storytelling with a couple of character arcs, throw in all the funny bits in the middle, and you got something good there. Mm. This felt like a kind of a hodgepodge to me. I could not stand Pia Zadora's character, the fickleness of her character. The only romantic relationship that felt earned in this movie was the psycho killer and the girl. That was
actually agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only earned relationship. I could see them go in the distance.
They had chemistry.
They did. Michael Berryman, he's a creepy looking dude, but he could also look very sweet.
Hey, he made those eyes at her because his eyes pop,
Yeah.
And you could tell he was like, "Oh, I'm feeling this."
Yeah. Michael Berryman was like the John Gielgud of this movie.
Of this. What about Ruth Gordon?
Yeah, she was.
She
good
was
too.
in freaking Rosemary's Baby. Shit.
She wasn't bringing the Rosemary's Baby's performance here. She was just.
She was camping it up.
Funny old bag. Yeah, she was good.
I understand what you're saying. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I think that I am looking at this through the lens of nostalgia. I enjoyed this watch more than other movies we've seen. I'm blanking out right now. I don't want to say Krull because I really enjoyed that as well. I feel like this is a great snapshot of the time with people of the time. Again, she was a huge deal back in the early 80s. Huge deal. So I think this was probably a vehicle for her to kind of showcase her talent and get more exposure, a little bit more something. I think in later years, she wound up just having a singing career. I could be wrong, but I don't know if she's done
around,
much.
Right?
Yeah, she's still alive, but I don't think she ever did movies or TV as much as she did in the early part of her career. I think since then she focused more on the singing. So there's that. But I think, again, this isn't a movie that you go into hoping to get liberated or some kind of consciousness. I think it's just turn off your brain and just sit here and enjoy. I didn't find anything objectionable about it. This is a PG movie, so again, there's brief boobage, but
I think it's PG-13.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did I say? I thought it was PG.
No, I think once the boob comes out, it goes to
PG-13. But did they have PG-13 when we were?
I don't know if they did back then, but when the films first started, when we were watching
nope.
it
According to
flashed
IMDb, this is PG.
Oh, really? Because
they
flashed PG-13 on the screen when we were
According
watching.
to IMDb, this is PG. All right. I mean, it works either way. I mean, again, for sensitive folks out there, it's just brief boobage. There's not any kind of cursing. This is a silly movie. If you want to go back and revisit this, if you are a child of the 70s, raised in the 80s, this is definitely a fun treat. It's mindless. It's silly. But I think it works. I'm going to give this a 6.5. Don't you roll your eyes at me. Zach, please, go ahead.
Generous.
I am kind of split between the two of you. Like, I think if I view this as like quality, like cinema, it ranks like a 3 out of 10 probably. But if it's on my like, as far as like enjoyable bad movies scale, it's like a 9 out of 10. It's like,
Yeah.
I think Fateful Findings might be the only 10 out of 10 on my scale for that.
Yeah.
But like, I would honestly like to see a remake of this movie.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of bad films, those are the ones that they should be like taking a second crack at.
Yeah. Like, remember a couple of years ago we saw, and that was another movie that I saw in the theater, completely not like this, The Woman in White, which the title is stupid because it has nothing to do with that. But like that movie, I remember seeing that in the theater and I loved the shit out of it. Like, I was like, this was so good. And it's funny because now I see it, and obviously, you know, we're spoiled with these Marvel movies and the special effects and the Disney money. So things don't age as well. But I think the core of that story was fantastic too. So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying too, Zach.
Like, there's so much insanity in this movie we haven't even talked about. We didn't talk about the octopus.
Yes.
We didn't talk about the girl that was jogging with the candy bar holster. Like,
yeah.
You know,
now let's talk about that.
The fire hydrant that pees on a dog.
Let's talk about that. The weird octopus kind of mutant thing that lives in the lake that by the end gets cleaned up. Like, I guess it was like a nod to like pollution and big corporation and acid rain and all that stuff. I mean, they have sort of like a little thing where she's telling the Absid guy about this and how like what was the line? The government's always suing Speelburgh or something. I think that was a part of the film that tried to be satirical, I guess, in a way, to try to make fun of something that's kind of important, but in a way that's not heavy-handed or preachy.
Well, back then, everything was about like nuclear waste, and that was like a big source for comedy. I mean, Toxic Avenger, the Springfield nuclear power plant, Three-Eyed Fish.
Well, the EPA was created under Nixon, so it was like environmental concerns were very like of the time and in fashion.
Yeah. So for them to kind of address something that's somewhat serious in a film that's completely bonkers is, I got to give them credit for that.
There's a scene where she's walking into the school and the octopus has literally wrapped itself like around the school, and she just like casually ducks under and walks into the doorway. She's not even concerned. The giant octopus is encasing the school. She's just like, oh, I got to go find Frankie.
Right. Well, I think that also kind of like addresses how, I don't want to say oblivious we were in the 80s, but maybe like, I think that I mean, there's always people that fight for social justices, right? And they always.
I really think you're digging deep for something that doesn't exist in this movie.
We are going to deep dive on this goddamn movie, whether you like it or not.
I don't think that anybody in that writer's room was like, we have to talk about the environment here. This is super critical.
They did, because she like has that whole speech about how like, well, we did, but then all the segments were limited to 1750, and then they installed the missile, but then the missile, somebody in there like wanted to at least wink at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I don't know. I don't think they were trying to make a statement.
I
think they were just making a joke about it.
It had its own
Actually,
scene.
it had two scenes. It had two scenes because it has the scene in the beginning where where you see him throwing the surfboard in and it melts.
Oh, it melts. Right.
You know,
why would you bring a surfboard to a lake?
I don't think they're very smart in Speelburgh.
Insanity in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, what was going on with the jogging girl?
You know what? Somebody
to
needs to patent that candy holster, because I think it would make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what? I am a marketer's wet dream. When my husband and I were first married, I was like a fool for infomercials. Like, I used to have like a yellow legal pad on my side of the nightstand and just like watching crap at night. Like, oh, I think I need this. I think I need this. That totally would have been on my list.
Oh yeah. We're lucky we don't have like 14 different blenders.
How dare you?
This one's just for cheese.
Listen, I'm a patriot. I'm keeping the economy fluid. I'm doing my part. I don't know about you, but I am a patriot, damn it.
Oh, did you catch the names of the two escaped mental patients?
Oh, what were they?
I watched it with the subtitles on, and the one guy is Chainsaw, and the other guy is Breather.
It all works. You know what? I like this.
That is the level of effort that went into this movie. They're like, I don't know, Chainsaw. We're not going to say his name, so who cares? He falls in love with a tertiary character, but he doesn't need. We'll just call him Chainsaw.
Yeah, I liked it. I like this a lot. I mean, again, it's not Mass. It's not Fresh. I was just talking to somebody about Fresh. I was like, go watch it. So good. So good. But I feel like it has its place in the universe. I think as like a nostalgia piece, it works. I think as a snapshot of the time, it works. I mean, even now, just like if I was going to put something on for my kids to watch, some silly, stupid, mindless thing. I mean, my kids kept coming in and out during the watch, and they were like, what is going on?
I think Olive was entertained.
Yeah. They're singing and dancing in it. Of course she's entertained.
I was so worried that Pia Zadora was going to get kicked in the face in that first singing scene because of the swings.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, someone's going to mistime this.
It'd be interesting to do a deep dive and find out if she did. I mean, I doubt that there was like safety protocols in 84.
This movie does need its own like making of documentary, even if it's from now and we go and interview everybody. Like, I would love to all
know.
of them sit down and just talk about their experiences on the movie.
Yeah.
You know, talk to the musicians, because apparently, like, the musicians, like, it didn't help their careers much.
I don't know how.
In the Mustangs.
I don't know how. This was cinema, if I could quote Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, it didn't tank everybody's career, at least.
Yeah, Craig Schaefer kept working. Michael Berryman kept
always
working.
Have a job.
Will always have a job.
It would be interesting to sit down, though, and just sort of see, like, what this was like and what it did to their lives and careers. It's like, this is one movie they chose to make, and, like, did it tank it, like, the musicians?
You know what's funny? It's funny that you said that. The guy who plays the lead alien, Absid, is an actor named Tom Nolan, and I happened to look on the IMDb page, and I was like, I said to you, I was like, it's hilarious that he picked his IMDb picture to be a still from this movie when he worked on Pretty Woman, and what was the other one? I mean,
well, maybe because this is like the film where he was one of the leads.
I guess, but
I don't remember. I mean,
he should have just put like a headshot and not use this particular still. But I mean, I'd be amping up even if I was like third bartender in Pretty Woman. I'd be like, yo, I was in Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
that shit made a lot of money.
I don't know. Maybe he's just got a really good sense of humor.
True. That's true too. Although I always say, I wish Lynch didn't. I wish Lynch didn't disavow Dune 84 so much. I love that movie.
Dune 84 is so.
It's so good.
That's one of those so bad it's good movies.
It's so good. It is so good.
I think that's a whole different type of so bad it's good here. I don't get the feeling that Voyage of the Rock Aliens had a lot of studio interference.
Yeah,
Probably not. No. Which is weird because isn't I feel like that's always been a thing, right? Because like even Star Wars, right? Like the studio was heavy-handed with Lucas, and that's 1977.
I mean, this movie feels very much like the way people parent it in the 80s, which was just, I don't know, go play in the road or something.
That's, you know what? That feels 100% legit, my friend. Yeah, didn't we read something like originally Han Solo was supposed to be like a lizard, and like the studio was like, no.
But that's good interference.
No.
Like,
I'm saying, like, I felt like studios always had a hand in it, but I agree with Zach that like this movie definitely no one said anything about.
It feels like it was made by unattended children.
Yeah. That's a perfect analogy.
Seriously, that's accurate. Well, I think because her husband at the time was like some mega millionaire, and he financed this movie.
That would make sense. Yeah. I mean, if he's footing the bill, it's just whatever Pia wants.
Whatever Pia wants. Yeah. Oh my God, her hair was like amazing in this. I was just like,
yeah, they didn't chintz on the makeup for the two leads there.
No, did you see Craig Schaefer's glossy lips? I was like,
his. Yeah, I mean, that and his cheekbones were like super defined. It was. Yes. He looked like a manga character.
Yeah. I was like, I expected him to be like.
I mean, aesthetically, like I thought, like the costuming worked. Like I really liked the aliens costumes. I really liked when the pack at the end turned into Boy Scouts, and they all had little neckerchiefs that said the pack.
Yes.
Yeah.
I even liked Pia's like Union Jack kind of red outfit in the beginning, and her 50s kind of like strapless, like that blue gingham thing that she wore to the cotillion before she gets changed into like her alien space
outfit.
Yeah.
Oh, her friend's dress in the cotillion
was like, cute too.
I literally went to a homecoming with a girl who was wearing almost that exact same dress in the mid 2000s.
Oh wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like there's certain looks in this movie that like work.
Yeah.
They work throughout most period. Like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic style. Like, you see stuff like that in, like, rockabilly magazines and stuff. Like, girls still dress like that. So, yeah it works. I mean, I like that. Like, we were talking about before, like, the amalgamation in the 80s of, like, bringing back retro 50s stuff. I mean, what's his name? American Graffiti came out in the 80s, didn't it? And
I think late 70s.
Late 70s, okay.
Maybe 80.
American Graffiti wasn't that before Star Wars?
Was it before Star Wars? I thought it came.
Yeah, I think that came out before Star Wars. I think that was like one of his first movies.
Was it? I don't remember. For some reason, I thought it came out like at 1980. I could be wrong. I could look in IMDb right now, I guess. But again, like just the whole, this hearkening back to nostalgia, right? And the 80s was like, I guess, a wholesome time.
I mean, it very much is a product of its time. Like, you know, we were saying earlier, you had the 50s revival versus the new wave. You had the environmental concerns, even if they were just winked at.
Yeah.
You know, the rise of music videos as an art form.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot going on here. And I agree with you guys. It would be interesting to see stuff like this come back and, like, retooled in some kind of way.
And just take a little bit more care with the connective tissue. I mean, I understand you want to showcase this.
But I feel like some movies...
little vignettes, but connected better.
But I feel like some movies work well like this. Just mindless batshit nonsense.
Well, like this movie would have been really easy to fix, to Ray's point, which is all you would really have to do is dial back to the love plot and just keep going with their searching for rock music. And then if you don't make the aliens a band and you have two bands that are human, like then you can just be about like which band is better, like which rock music does this aliens like. I presume they want to preserve it and send it out into the universe. Like that's all you would really need to do. Like you would just need to stick to the premise.
Yeah.
Which this movie does not. This movie does not stick to its initial premise.
No, it is all over the place. It is.
I mean, it literally, you could have fixed it with like 2 scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, even though it's still, a lot of people consider it a bad movie. I actually liked it. Like Grease 2, in comparison to Grease 1, is not as good as that. But I think that movie takes an idea and sticks with it. The whole like mysterious guy that she's falling in love with interspersed music and like light comedy. So I think that did it better. I think a movie like I loved Absolute Beginners. I think it came out a little bit after this though. And that movie too. That's a movie made in the 80s about the 50s, about the whole teenage movement in London with interspersed with really great music. So yeah, I mean, and those stories are more cohesive. But I think that this one works even though it's all over the place just because I feel like it doesn't try to take itself seriously at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I think as far as the enjoyability as far as like through the bad movie lens goes for me, I think the fact that it is so all over the place, like it actually is what makes it appeal to me.
Right.
But like within the scattered variety, like there's little nuggets of gold.
Right.
Like I said, there were some funny moments. Like I liked that 21st Century song. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
Like you said, it is knockoff Devo, but
yeah.
I mean, you put it on like a compilation with Devo, I'll be like, oh, I like this track.
Yeah. Yeah. It all works. It all works. It all works. Yeah. And sometimes, like, I remember going to the theater just because it was a Saturday and I just wanted to get out of the house and watch a movie. And sometimes it wasn't even about the movie. It was about, like, the experience of being with your friends in a place, being fun, being young, being silly. Sometimes we'd go, like, I loved the Valley Girl soundtrack. Like, that was my jam. I played that till my ears bled.
That has a legit good
soundtrack. Yeah.
Sparks is on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Tons of really good stuff. And even like early like John Hughes films also just really like, I mean, good storytelling, but the soundtrack also amped up the experience. And it was like always fun to go see those movies because it was like a complete package. It was like, this was geared to my demographic and it wasn't talking down to me. It wasn't making me feel stupid. It was like, hey, you're young. You're going to get there, have some fun, keep your nose clean, do well, and it'll be okay kind of thing. So your eyes are glazing over. I can see that we need to wrap this up. Yeah. You have any more notes on Voyage of the Rock Alien?
No, I think I said my piece.
You know what I would like to do as a side project, Ray and Zach?
What?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should write this and reboot it. No, I'm being dead serious. You know what? We get Lenny for songwriting.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe revamp some of the.
What would have to dig up some like singer that looks like a child but actually isn't a child.
We don't have to go that route.
Bieber. It's Bieber. It's just Bieber as himself. This is now a vehicle for Bieber.
We don't have to do that.
We flip it and reverse it, and he's dating the head of an all-female greaser gang band. We do the classic gender reverse.
Well, we have to do it so that he's the sensitive one, right? Maybe he's an activist. Maybe he's at the lake.
It's Bieber, so all of these things already check. Sensitive activist Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Yeah, he's so giving.
Yes. Oh, I love it. We should. I'm being legit. I've always wanted to write. You know that. I'm always trying to get you to write with me.
I don't know if I were to write. I don't think it would be Space Rock Aliens or whatever this. I don't even remember the name of this movie.
Voyage of the Space Rock Alien.
Voyage of the Space Rock Alien.
You take an Alan Smithy credit.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, something to think about. Yeah. I think at this point we all got to work on our side hustles.
Yeah.
Get some extra cash.
Nothing but B movies.
Seriously.
D movies.
This house is a money pit.
Oh, God. Don't remind me, please.
Oh, Zach, did I get your number?
Yes.
You said...
Oh, I said a 3 out of 10 on a serious scale and a 9 out of 10 on a bad movie scale.
I think that tracks as far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Because, I mean, you can look at it two ways, right? And I don't know. I just had a great time. I loved it. I love movies like this where I feel like, yeah, I wasted 2 hours, but who gives a shit? Like, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm in a place with people I love, and...
Well, to me, the question is, like, if I'm a studio head and I get the cut of this movie, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be like, what the fuck did I spend my money on? And then, but, you know, if I'm sitting in a movie theater just going, oh, this is fucking stupid, eating popcorn, you know?
I love it. So you don't want to be the guy financing this. Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Exactly.
You just want to enjoy it. And that works. That works. Absolutely. But you know what? It would be interesting to see how this would get retooled. I love stuff like that. Like when I see movies that like have issues, it's like, because I always ask you, right? Like, what would have made this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like I said, for me, it was just some sort of better connective plot. You know, like I said, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever. Just find something and stick to it. I mean, seriously, the initial premise was just
Ridiculous.
just lost in a blizzard of cocaine that it never got recovered.
What if not a movie? It's a limited series event. And we stretch it out to like 6 hours.
Oh, I like this. You know what? And I'm going to have to, I do like your Justin Bieber, but I'm going to have to say, you know what I'm going to say? Ryan Reynolds. We have to cast Ryan Reynolds.
You're going to kill his career. He's just.
I don't think you can kill his career at this point.
Come back and you're just going to murder his.
No, I don't think. And you know what?
But I like Ryan Reynolds, but he's
too old.
He's too old now.
Yeah.
You got to get somebody. You got to get like a Timothy Chalamet.
No, you got to get even younger. You got to start scoping out the junior highs. Get younger.
Kids, you know what?
Younger talent.
Just grab some random kid from the Disney factory and
You know what? That's how Zendaya did it, right?
yeah.
Wait, is it Zendaya or is it Zendaya? I always forget how to pronounce her name.
I thought it was Zendaya, but I don't know.
Yeah, one or the other. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Z. I'm a huge fan. You also have an open invite, you and Tom, to dinner.
Lots of fatty foods.
Yes, we'll fatten you right up.
Only other thing about Voyage of the Rock Aliens that I wanted to touch upon is basically the song that bookends it, when the rains begin to fall. Like the lyrics from that song felt to me as if they just had a bunch of different songwriting tropes written on like different scraps of like paper or index cards, and then they just sort of like shuffled them around, because like everything in it feels like generic 80s lyrics tropes, like, and they're so insane. Like when the rain begins to fall, you'll ride my rainbow in the sky, I'll catch you if you fall, like you don't need to worry at all.
Well, you know what? Don't laugh, but when we went to that Bowie exhibit at the museum, remember he was like, he would get like word tiles and just like.
Oh yeah, no. Brian Eno would do like oblique strategies as well.
That's amazing. You know? Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love everything about this conversation. I think we should really consider redoing this film or something like this.
I don't know if this film ever needs to be revisited.
I think you're wrong. And I hope that somebody with more money goes and retools Krull. I fucking enjoyed it. I don't care what you say.
Krull I could see getting a good remake because there was a lot of good ideas in there. It was just so horribly executed. Just so horribly executed. But there were a lot of good ideas in that movie.
All right.
But that's from the Krull review.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up. If you haven't seen it, check out Voyage of the Rock Aliens. If you're within a certain age demographic, this might be a nice trip down memory lane. If you want just silly stuff to put on, I think this also works. If you have a night job or a stoner, I think this also works.
There you go.
This is pure quality entertainment. This is why the terrorists hate us. So that's it from us. Again, thank you to the lovely and amazing Zach for joining us. I can't wait to do another review with you. I actually have a couple of ideas. I'll send them to you offline. And we will come back really soon with another review. So that's it from us. Thank you and good night.
Good night.